Coming up in this episode of Behind the Sound.
Because usually on the B-sides, there was always something there, you know?
Yeah.
So he flips it over and he plays it. And then people started liking it. And then next thing you know, DJ Premier takes it and puts it on his 101 reality check record.
Crazy.
And then everybody's like, whoa, okay, we know of Socrates. Who's this? And they kept butchering my name. Who's this Choclair guy?
It's going down, people gather around. Grab a mic, let's rap, it's Behind the Sound. It's going down, people gather around. Grab a mic, let's rap, it's Behind the Sound.
Choclair,
Yeah.
Baby Jing, live on Behind the Sound, baby.
What we gonna do? We gon' bounce, come on and bounce, come on, bounce, come on and bounce, come on, bounce, come on and bounce, come on, bounce, yeah. Well, it's a knocker, the cheers rocks her. Party while I'm wine drinking. My rhymes will bust a hole right through your thinker. Forget your strategies when you battle. It's international record sales. They try, but they fail. It's the Chizo or the Shacos. Ram a street like a blacko before the shots ring out. People never seen, heard. They ran through your HQs like some pachyderms. You swerve from the gamer, soft player. I'm all black like the Raiders. Wonder how I did it. Album anticipated. It's the ninth inning with 2 outs. Hit a home run to left field like Carter did to Philly. Do they understand me? Nah, really? No MacGyver tactics can stop my theatrics. Making ladies backflip. Understand it's all about the sexual. Heating up your set like a tropical. Stop it. My UVs will burn your skin, singe your optics. 21 years is groundwork. People hear me coming, so haters got mad work. But understand it's all about the suave diggy dog. Let's ride. You feeling my vibe, then we can all just ride. You wanna get down, then we can all just ride. People put your hands up high and just ride. Whether you're from east side or west side, just ride. My people from E-Town to downtown, Cali to NY, you know we all ride. The Florida Keys to DT, just ride. My people
Check
roll
it,
right here. Let's
Well, you know composer wrote their own vocals, direct his own video, fuck the jokers. Used to smoke hydro in front of 5-0. Can't abide on the sideline, ain't a sideshow. Polarize, I divide folks, I design shows. Hit my style when they leave the night on a high note. Ready to find like I reside in a silo. Ready to shine, unsigned, most undermined blow. Undefined, undeniably indecisive. My flow heavy like a bag of rices. My advice is resigned despite my vices. I light up any mic and I bite like Tyson. It's a fact now, you best to back down. You may weather the storm, I stay strong like Pacquiao. Beast on a beat, call it planet crack sound. Can't feel my face, just knock up on the track now.
Let's ride. My people's on lockdown, you know we go. Let's ride. My people's on the corner hustling. Let's ride. Them girls in tight skirts, you know we go. Let's ride. My people pushing flat rides with illy rims. If you're feeling that vibe, then we can all just ride. Them games and sexy belly chains, just ride. Them people from E-Town to downtown. My people T.O. We go ride. Hey, swing down, sweet chariot, stop. 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 Yes, sir. Hey.
Yeah, man. It's Knock live on Behind the Sound, baby.
Tell that I'm working. Tell I'm working.
Let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of Behind the Sound. This is the 20th episode. It is a really cool milestone. When we decided to build this show, we didn't know where it was going to take us. All I know, I wanted to do something super cool and creative and work with all of the talented artists and musicians that we know. And the 20th episode has brought us somewhere absolutely special. And I can't lie, when he said yes to be on the show, I was like a little schoolgirl jumping for joy inside. And I really did feel the pressure to get this interview and this performance right. So we just performed one of the most iconic Canadian songs in hip hop called Let's Ride. And I am so excited to introduce this next guest who needs no introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, Choclair.
Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up? How's everybody doing? Hey, what's up, world? How you doing? How you doing, brother?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, man. Good. Doing great.
Thank you so much for being here, brother.
Yeah, for sure.
So excited to have you.
Thank you for having me here.
Listen, we just rocked, like I said in the intro, an iconic song. give us a little background and backstory into how Let's Ride came together, from the production and everything that went into it that brought that record to what it is today.
Oh man, back in the days, me and like the Circle, Cardinal, Solitaire, Socrates, Why Look, Anthem, Marvel, Tara Chase, Road Dollar, a whole bunch of us, all of us, we always used to go to the studio with each other all the time. And Socrates, Solitaire, and Cardinal were primary beat makers.
Right.
Out of that, Road Dollar was getting into some beats and stuff like that, but those were the primary three. And we used to always go out with each other to places like we'd go out to like the club or something like that, or something, studio or wherever. And we'd park like our cars up beside each other, and Sox would be like, "Hey, Cardi, what are you working on?" And then Cardi would pass his cassette over, and then same thing, they'd do the same thing, and we'd always be listening to beats back and forth. And I remember this beat came on, and it had the pianos on it.
Yes.
And so I go to Cardi, I was like, "Cardi, I want this one. I want this beat right here." So Cardi always calls me Latte for choco lattes. He's like, "Latte, this beat's a little fast, man. Do you think you could rock this beat?"
Uh-oh.
I said, "Yo, just let me sit with it. Let me sit with it." And so he's like, "All right, man." But he goes, because Solitaire and Cardi and Julie and most of them, they all lived in the west end of Toronto.
Yeah.
And me, Road Dollar, and Sox, we lived in the east end in Scarborough. And so he knew that us three would probably more likely to be at a studio with each other, because we all were around each other, and whenever we all didn't get together at the same time, it was usually me, Ro, or Sox, and we go over to Sox's house and make music. And so he goes to Sox. He's like, "Hey, I know that you guys are going to be running around, so I want you to be in the studio when he records on this." So
Let's
that way,
go.
yeah, because he's like, I don't want him to go and put some voiceover and get somebody to do voiceovers on it and say it was his song or whatever. So we go into the studio. My manager back in the day, his name was Day, and we used to go to his studio all the time. So we went and we did the song, and it came out how it did. And that's why Sox is at the beginning of the song.
Yeah.
Because when we did it, he was like, "Yes, sir. When a man wanted to ride, what did he do? Swing down,
Yeah.
sweet chariot. It's swing on down." And that was like, I was there when he did it.
Right.
And then so we did the song, and it came out, and we had like one of Sox's manager, Chase, back in the day. He was always a harsh critic on all of our music, because he was a music lover like that, and he would always be like, "It's good, but you know, you could do the little this to that," like for like all these songs. So I remember one time.
That's good. You need somebody around
Yeah.
like that that's going to give real criticism.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, he gave real criticism too, right?
Yeah.
And I remember one time, I forgot where we were going, but he was driving with me, and we were driving down, and I was like, I don't know if he asked, "What had you guys been doing?" or whatever was happening. Again, because he knew we were always in the studio together. So I put the tape in, and I play it, and his reaction was how I knew it was like, I was like, "Okay, I got one here," because he goes and he's like, "You know, it's good, man.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good."
He won't fully give it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
And so then at that point, so this is 96, late 96, 97. And and then everybody started hearing it, and they're like, okay, yeah. At that time, I started doing shows and stuff like that off of like songs before, like What It Takes, 21 Years and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I remember I met this guy, his name was Russ Hergert. He was the guy that got me signed to Virgin. And he heard the song back in like 97. And I remember him, it's like,
This is before the Virgin record deal that Let's Ride came out?
it didn't
Or
come
was
out, I was just recorded.
Okay.
So it was recorded, and I remember him saying, it was either me or Day. He said, "Hey, whatever you guys are gonna do, just save the song for me.
Yeah.
I'll work it out. I'll work it out." So that's why we had all these other songs come out beforehand. And then in August or June of 1998 is when I signed to Virgin. And then
2 years later.
Yeah, like 2 years later. And then I signed to Virgin. And then we were all amped because we all really liked the song. Like
Yeah.
me and, just my friends and stuff. And Russ just let me work it out. Let me work it out. And so then I got signed and whichever. And then he went and got Little X or DJ X now, or not DJ X, Mr. X or
Yeah.
X, whatever it's called now.
Yeah.
And he went and got him to go do the video. And so he shot the video and it came out really good.
Yeah.
The budget was like, it was almost a phenomenal amount of money for being spent on a hip hop artist from Canada.
Right. Which
And-
is how they used to do it back in the day. And Little X at that time is the guy.
Yeah,
Right? He's
yeah.
he's the director at that time.
Yeah, he was the guy at that time. And so they put something together and the video came out how it came out. The song, we were kind of surprised because for us, it was old,
Right.
you know? And Sox used to always tell me, it's like, it's only old if it's not old if nobody heard it,
Exactly.
you know? So, and then it came out and it did what it did. And I think it lasted like 24 weeks or something really crazy on the charts. And yeah, that's how that song came together. And it helped me get a Much Music Video Award. It helped me get my a Juno at the Juno Awards that year, and then I got that song came released out in the States through Priority Records over there, and it just helped kick off my career. But yeah, that song came together literally because Cardi thought the beat was too fast for me.
Right, right. So actually, talking about the beat was too fast, because when I was syncing it up, the BPMs on that beat is 100.35.
Yeah.
Is there a reason for? Is that on purpose, or do I have some sort of weird DJ mix down of it?
No, it was there was no reason for it. It was just Cardi was just doing his thing.
Yeah,
And that was just a beat that he had.
that's crazy.
It was just one of the beats that he had, and that one just stuck out to me.
I love that.
Yeah, and then I think that's why, because most of the beats around there were in between 90, some of them were 90s and 95, 97, 98,
Yeah,
something like that.
that's a nice place to rock.
Yeah, but
yeah, once
not-
you break the hundreds, it's different. Yeah,
Exactly, and
Yeah.
that's why I guess he thought it was too fast. But then I went in there and did what I did, and it came out how it came out. But yeah, that's the craziest way that song came together, was just Cardi thought it was too fast.
that's crazy. Is he playing the piano? Was that sampled? Because we talk about off camera and something that's coming up in the next episode with Choclair. Tune in for that. But we talk about different hooks of you talk about meeting Dre and the 3 hooks that he told you, and that piano lick.
That's
You
all
know what I
Cardi.
mean? Aside from the hook itself, is like it is crazy. It just like that intro needs to play out the way that it does.
Yeah, it's all him.
Unreal.
Yeah, he's
Super catchy.
Yeah, and he's
Yeah.
talented like that, and all that's his own production. One of the things that I always like to really pride myself on when getting beats or selecting beats,
Yeah.
is I try not to use samples.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't get away with it. Can't get away with using the sample because of the way it fits in the song and all this. If you change it, you could try and recreate it, but it won't
It's not
be
the
the
same
same
vibe,
you
yeah.
know? So, but yeah, that's all him composing the whole song and everything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. I want to talk about, and so, having that song bumping in your car for 2 years before everybody else actually gets to hear it. It sort of does kill the vibe for you a little bit, but I do understand the point of, if nobody's heard that, those are fresh ears, it's a brand new song. Were there things about it? Did it get released exactly the way that you had finished it recording, or did you change things along the way? Because sometimes when you come back to something 2 years later, was there something you wanted to revise before that it actually dropped with the record label?
No, with the exception of the mixing and mastering,
Right.
maybe a vocal here or there, but the way that song came out was how it
The
was.
way it dropped.
Yeah, it was the
that you
way
had
they did it. We did it 2 years before. Yeah, we just polished it.
Yeah.
So we didn't change vocals around or this and put chorus here and there. It was like, that's how it was. Took it to the mixing and mastering studio, and that's how it came out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dope.
Yeah.
Man, I can't even believe we rocked that together in the booth with a live performance. What an honor. What an iconic song, man. That is crazy. Thank you for doing that.
Oh, no problem.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And what a cool story behind it as well. And I love the part of when you think about icons like yourself and Cardi and the things that you put out, Julie Black, and you don't think about, the real people sitting in their cars handing tapes back and forth to each other, like, what are you working on? This is what I got. And then, before anything is ever released. And that backstory of just the way that your crew came up together, lifting each other up and sharing tapes like that across a car window.
Yeah.
It's just, that's so dope.
That was, yeah. And that was just it was just a natural thing for us. And we went almost everywhere with each other. Like, we went to shows together, this together, anywhere.
Yeah.
And so it was just a natural thing. If I go over to Cardi's house, we'll sit down and listen to music, or go to Sax's house and listen to music, and or like again, we just sit down and pass tapes around, or listens to each other's demos.
Right.
You know, it'd be like, oh, this song is good, or you stick on this one, or whatever. But that's what we did. We always shared music,
Right.
and because everybody's a musician in their own right, there you kind of get, and they wouldn't say this is good when it wasn't.
Of course.
You know, especially if like Cardi's on the beat and I'm not good on the song, he's gonna be
He's
like,
going to make sure.
yeah, it's like, no, you got to go back or something like that. But that was just the way that we rolled. We just rolled like that, everywhere with each other, sharing beats, collaborating on ideas. And when it came to the Ice Cold record, when people used to ask me about it, there was so many of us on that record as far as production, voices in there and everything. When people used to ask me about like, okay, you know, about the your record, like talking about my record, and I'd be like, no, it's like, I know it's under the Choclair name, but it's a collaborative record, because we were in studios from like 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. doing these things, going back the next day. Like we literally spent all our time in the studio, all of us either coming in at certain times and everything. And that's just the way it went down. So it was just the nature of all of our relationship was to do stuff like that.
Yeah. And I also mean, I don't know if it's Toronto or what it is, because there's like a crew of videographers that blew up on YouTube as well that are all friends and creators in that space. But it's like when you're sharing with your friend, I mean, we're not talking about Mike from the block down the street who's like, oh man, the Chocks, that's a crazy song. That's the best song. You're talking about real record makers and real artists and musicians like Cardi who are giving you real feedback and you're helping each other with that element, you know?
Yeah.
That's different than just kind of sharing it with the neighbor and somebody's giving you props. Like people who are really talented in the industry, and I have a feeling that, correct me if I'm wrong, that's part of the sauce that helped build up what you did to do so many iconic things, each of you in that era.
Definitely, because Cardi has a sound, Solitaire has a sound, Sox has a sound,
Right?
you know, and Ro has a sound, and so you got different vibes from each other. So it's not like every song I was doing was with Sox, so it was all going to sound like this. So I did it with this person, I did it with Cardi.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, I'm going to get a beat by Cardi, do a song with Solitaire, do one with Ro, do one with Sox,
Yeah.
do one with K Cut from Main Source, even, you know, and then get Julie to come and do these hooks on these parts and that parts and everything. So it was a real collaborative effort on all levels. It was really, really, the way it came together, it was just so good. And especially because of that, and not just getting to someone who's just a general fan of music. Because you can get the general fan of music and they can be like, yeah, it's all right.
Right.
And it might be all right. But then you get the insight from them because they're music creators as well.
Yeah.
And then also they know me, so they know
What you're capable
what I'm
of
capable
and what you're
of.
not.
Yeah, so they'll be like, you know, like, we know, let's rock this or something like that, or let's try this idea. So
Right.
that's kind of how it worked. And I think with everybody doing their thing, like Cardi doing his thing and Solitaire doing his thing, Julie doing her thing, Tara doing her thing, Ro doing his thing, like all these guys doing all that stuff. It was just, it was that because of the music, that everybody was such musicians and talented. So that way when I work with them, it doesn't all sound the same type of style. It has different influences
Yeah.
from the different producers and composers on the track.
Right. How do relationships like that progress? Because when we're talking, you know, in our late teens, early 20s, sharing tapes across the window, parked in some, you know, parking lot pimping somewhere, right? You got nowhere to go. We're just like hanging out, listening to music and hanging with your friends. To now, everybody's got families.
Yeah.
Everybody's got careers. Everybody's good, but doing music. And how do you continue to celebrate each other and continue to connect in this phase of your life?
Well, yeah, like a lot of people, everybody, they got families now and
Right.
they're doing different things and all that. We still stay connected. A lot of times, you know, it's either a shout on the phone or we meet up, you know, at shows or events and stuff like that. But we're all still cool. It's like
the Junos, celebrating 50 years performing on stage with your friends at the Junos, no big deal.
Well, it's no big deal. As if it's like I'm like, oh, there's Cardi, what's up, yo, how you doing? But yeah, it was a big deal because to a degree, degree because, you know, it was like seeing all of these people getting recognized that I came up with.
Yes,
you know, and we saw their struggle, they saw my struggle, they saw how, you know, the ups and the downs of even just trying to get heard or even just get out there.
Right.
So to see that happen, and then to see us all doing Juno shows and headlining shows and all these different things, it's like we just get back together and say, hey, what's up? How you doing? How are the kids? How's this? How's that going?
Dope.
And everything. So it was cool. And it was just because everybody was an individual artist on their own, it was just a natural progression for it to go, because Cardi was going to end up doing what Cardi was doing, same with Solitaire, same with Julie, same with Socks, and everything. So it was just a natural way to go. But like it's like almost like a rubber band. And like, okay, we're doing this and this. And at some point we always come back and it's like, hey, what's up? And then we're like, hey, I like that song. I like this song. Hey, we should really, do something else. And then, like it goes here, they're doing this. Julie's doing her thing and doing all that stuff. And then we end up coming back again because we started when we started with a core of like, that's why we ended up calling ourselves The Circle, because Socks and those guys were a part of this thing called Figures of Speech. Yeah. And me and Ro, we're a part of this crew called Paranormal Crew, which had intricate breakdancers in it and stuff like that. And we would, and then we came together, and then we just became like, called it The Circle because we were a circle of friends that did music.
Dope.
And then we just stuck with the names, The Circle.
Dope.
Yeah.
Dope. And I mean, that I was being completely sarcastic there. That's obviously the biggest fucking possible deal. You coming together for, a moment like that, celebrating 50 years of hip hop and in Canada, and, to see all of you on stage. I couldn't be more sarcastic there. It's the biggest possible deal. Let's take us, I would love to go through, you have such a storied history in your discography and so many cool milestones. I want to go back and hit some of those milestones and get some of the backstories to those songs and what was going through your mind, in those moments. So you started making music and sort of rapping at 11 years old. You have a bigger brother, right? How many years older than you?
And technically he's 2 years older than me.
Okay.
But like, his birthday's in December and mine's in March. So for almost most of the year, we're a year apart.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's like almost like Irish twins. That's not I thought it was a bigger gap.
Yeah, no.
So he makes music as well, or was that just your kind of? Because I'm a little brother also. It's a much bigger gap, 7 years, but I got filtered all of the dope music and fashion and so I got that from my big brother. But you guys were more close to being peers then, like in school. Yeah.
Yeah, like we played in the same baseball league and stuff like that. And
right.
He got into rap first, because he was the one, like people knew him around where I was growing up in Scarborough. People knew him as the rapper. Yeah. And he was always in the cyphers. He was always freestyling and battling and everything. And then people knew that I was his brother, and they would come up and say, hey, you're going to rap like your brother, you're going to rap like your brother. And I didn't know at that time. Yeah. I wasn't sure of what I was going to do. And then one day I was at a house party. And my brother went up and he was rapping and doing like that. And then someone's like, yo, Junior, it's your turn. And I was kind of just messing around on little stuff, because he used to always be pumping it so hard, like the hip hop music and everything so hard back in the day. And I was like listening to everything. Like I was like Gerald Levert, Quiet Riot, Bon Jovi,
crazy,
everything like that.
Yeah.
And so I did what I kind of had already, just kind of messing around a bit. And the best part about it is that someone just said, hey man, you're good. You should stick at it.
Yeah.
And so I stuck at it.
Yeah.
And then it just kept going. I kept writing some more and things. And then that's how, so my brother influenced me into it that way. And then my friend from high school introduced me to Socks.
Yeah.
And then through Socks, I met like Cardi and the rest of the guys.
Right.
And everything. And then from that, we just all started just being friends, and we're all trying to get shows. We're all going to the studio together and everything. And then things just kind of became its own, organic element with all of us together. And that's kind of, so my brother got me kicked off into it. And then I just kind of just kept going with it, because somebody just said, you were good, you should stick at it.
That's so crazy. And sometimes it just takes that one affirmation from somebody, right? Do you remember who that person was?
Yeah. I don't know if he wants me to use his real name, but he's from Usual Suspects.
Let's go.
Yeah. And he grew up around the same area, and he was my brother's friend. Yeah. And I met him the other day, and I told him, I said, man, you know what? You're the guy that really got me into it, because you were the person that said you were good, you should stick at it.
That's crazy.
And and I was like, yeah. So I met him like maybe earlier this year. Yeah. Sometime maybe late last year. Yeah. And I told him, I said, man, because because I haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah.
And he told me, and I said, yeah, man, that's like you really kind of sparked the flame under me. 'Cause,
Yeah.
yeah. He told me I was good at it.
Yeah. I mean, I got to sit in one of the episodes with some of my favorite idols before I was going into high school. This group called Philly 4, they were singing, and I'm in junior high. They were in high school, all Filipino guys, and they were an a cappella group in the Boys to Men era, right?
Right.
And so I'm hearing about how cool these guys are, and they were like, I don't think they realized the impact they had on my career, doing music, not like a musical career, but like a business that involves music and the way that music is entrenched in my life, the impact that group had on me. And it seems little things like that. Shout out to my man from Usual Suspects, who seem like it's such an insignificant, small moment that says, oh man, that was actually really dope. You should consider doing that more. That has stuck with you. And maybe without that comment from him, that seems insignificant. We don't have the chiz knock.
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's
Like
very
maybe
true.
that's the end of rap for you.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's the one thing I always stuck out that made me go and stick at it.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah.
I love that. So now we get into like Knee Deep Records, and in 95, you drop your first release, 21 Years. It's your first single release. I don't know what it's like for you. When I play stuff that's old for me, I mean, I don't have anything recorded in 1995. I can't stand the way it sounds. I hate listening to my old stuff. When I play this record of yours from 95, it does not sound like somebody's first release. Like, I think that's obviously how good you are, and speaks to why you've been able to create the records and the gold records and Juno nominations that you have. But Ethan, pull this up, play this. This is 1995, 21 Years, your first ever single release.
Yep.
Let's just hear a little bit of this. Sample? Maybe.
I think so. Yeah, I think this was a sample. Yeah.
21 years of my lifetime. Yeah. 21 years. 21 years. Choclair's in the house.
You're 21? Are you 21 years old at this time?
I was 20. I was 20 at this time.
You need to recognize and realize. 21 years of pure bullshit. It makes me wanna bang my heads off the walls and do some shit like orchestrate swarms in the Morse mentality. It's not where it should be. When you see red and white lights break the night skies, reflection of a madman in the teared eye. Another brother dies, another in handcuffs, mother's knees start to buckle up before when they see their child outline and chalk silence.
And another thing is like you're already kind of settled into your flow. Like you have a very unique natural flow. Would you say that, like, would you agree, or did it change over the years?
I don't think it really changed, because I was always someone that liked to rap. I don't necessarily rap on the kick and the snare.
Yeah.
I'm like one of those guys. I listen, like the kick and the snare could be a beautiful thing, and I like them, and of course I like kicks and snares and stuff like that in there. But I listen for percussions and stuff like the things that weave
in betweens.
through. Yeah, the stuff that weaves through the music. And I like to say it's like I like to be like water on rocks. It just moves. The waves just move with the current of whatever is going on. Yeah, it's just the flow, and that's why it was the Choclair, the ill flower, because one of the things that I really appreciated about rap and just music in general was the way that they delivered it to you.
Yeah.
Because everybody can say the same thing. Oh, I had a hard time, and life was hard, and this, that, and that. But it's like, how do you push? How do you say the story?
Yeah.
How do you make it where it's not like this guy said it already, and this guy, like, it's like, how do you present the story that you're saying it, and how do you deliver it? Like, you can have like a movie like Godfather, which is real good, and then you can just have like some other type of mafia movie that's not great. They're still telling the same story, and they might be even talking about the same people.
Right.
But the way that the Godfather is presented and delivered is more up than the way this one is presented and delivered.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I like to do is I try to listen to what's going on in the background.
Yeah.
And then I try to run. It's not that it's like sort of like what Busta Rhymes does. Like when he had that I forgot what that name of that song is. That. And he's like, when I come through, like so yeah, that's what he does, right? He runs through the music and stuff like that. And when I write running through the music.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to go all the way in it.
Yeah. I like that. You're not constrained by a kick and a snare. Like you're just, even your cadences and the flows of where you end rhymes and where you choose to rhyme and choose to not rhyme really matches the ins and outs. And it's not, I think as an early as an artist, it's easy to do the obvious things because you're still not quite intricate of an artist and a writer yet, and it takes time and experience to go through that. But I think what's odd to me and what's unique and kind of speaks to your talent is that sounds like you already. You know what I mean? That sounds like the Chiz. Now, where you look at, even Jay-Z's kind of earlier records, and it's still, people are still finding their way. And it feels like, to me, that record, what are we talking? 30 years ago, it already sounds like you.
The crazy thing is that record almost never happened.
Really?
And what was happening in those times, I started doing demos with Sox and Cardi and everything. And then you'd go to the record company and you drop off your cassette and whichever, but you never hear anything back.
Right.
So, at that point, you're kind of getting frustrated. Like, is this the thing for me and stuff like that? So me and my manager at the time, Day, I remember we were over at his house and we were just, we were recording and stuff like that. And I remember, I was saying, man, like these record companies, because we were making demos and music and stuff like that. And I was like, man, like no one's gonna, if you don't know anybody, which we didn't, if you don't know anybody related to anybody, no one's really gonna pay you any mind. Or if you don't have a reference or something, no one's gonna pay you any mind. So at that time, I was like, man, we should just start a label and put people out.
Yeah.
So he calls me the next day. He's like, were you serious about that? I was like, yeah, let's do it. So this is 93, 94.
Yeah.
And then so we started Knee Deep Entertainment or Knee Deep Records at the time. And
Knee deep in what?
In the music.
Okay.
Yeah, knee deep in the music.
Okay.
And so on the flip side of that song is Socrates' song Father Time. So Sox puts out, so we had Father Time on that record, but at that time there always needed to be a B-side. And we were like, well, because I wasn't even considering myself an artist. I was like, okay, I'm just going to play in the back and just do, whatever, the executive stuff or whatever. But we had no artists. And so Dave was like, well, you might as well do something. We need something for the B-side.
Right.
So I recorded that song. And so Father Time blew up. Like it went everywhere. It was, like it was one of them songs, just one of them songs. And I remember listening to 88.1 and DJ X was on 88.1 and somebody called in and they're like, that Father Time record is really, really good. But you got to check out that B-side.
Let's go.
So X goes, yeah, we have been giving this Father Time and it was getting runs like all the time. Maybe very rarely you'd hear 21 years. And X was like, yeah, we should really, and I was listening to this on the radio at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, we really should give this record a listen,
Yeah.
Because usually on the B-sides, there was always something there,
Yeah.
So he flips it over and he plays it. And then people started liking it. And then next thing you know, DJ Premier takes it and puts it on his 101 Reality Check record.
Crazy.
And then everybody's like, whoa, okay, we know of Socrates. Who's this? And they kept butchering my name. Who's this Choclair guy? And I was like, and then that's how that record started getting legs. And so Father Time's already doing what it's doing. And then now 21 years is starting to get played. Premiere is, it's like, yo, this record's dope. So now it's getting played internationally now. So the same record, they're just flipping it over.
Yeah. And
so it started making noise. And so that 21 years came out and started getting my name out.
Right.
And then right after that record, me and Dave were looking at us. We were like, well, we got to put out another record. It was like, well, what are we going to do? We don't have any artists.
Yeah.
Because I'm still not considering myself the artist, right?
Right.
And
I guess that's me.
Yeah, I was like, okay, well, I'll do another song, I guess. And so they created the beat for What It Takes. I knew of who Julie Black was because I met her with Cardi and all these guys at different places and stuff like that. So the first time I actually sat down and met Julie Black was when we were creating the second record, which was What It Takes.
Crazy.
And then she did such a great job on that one.
Yeah.
The same thing came around. It's like, Dave's like, yo, we have to have a B-side. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
And so then I went and then I did Just a Second. And then that record comes out and it does really well on just with the vinyls and everything like that. And Julie... people knew of who Julie was to a degree, but it was like kind of like I think it was her first time like on a record, like being pushed like that. But people knew who she was. Everybody, knew she was a dope singer and everything like that. And so we did that, and we had Just a Second. The vinyl went so well that we figured we'd put together like an EP CD, and I'm gonna forget his name. I know his last name is Page, but it was one guy from the Bare Naked Ladies, and he heard the record, and then so they said, "Okay, Page Distribution, we're gonna distribute that record."
Crazy.
And so they put the CD out in the stores, in like 97, so. And that was my very first Juno.
Yeah.
With the song with me and Julie Black.
Your second song release.
My second release, pretty much. Yeah, was my first Juno.
You're winning a Juno already.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And the best part is I was on the Beat Factory tour with Danny O and Monolith and everybody. And we were in Thunder Bay, and we were just finished doing a show, and we go, because I'm just touring off of 21 years.
Yeah.
Like just that song.
Right.
So we go over to this after party, and Rap City was playing. And Rap City used to come on at in Eastern time, it would come on at 4 and repeat at like 1 or 2 in the morning.
Right.
So it's like 1 or 2 in the morning, and they put on Rap City, and we're watching it. And then for the very first time, What It Takes comes out. So now I'm just standing there watching my video for the first time on TV with a whole bunch of people I just did a show with that I don't know in Thunder Bay.
Yo.
And then 3 weeks later, because the song was already out, right? So, but we
Right.
just EP'd it and to put it to a CD, and then had somebody distribute it.
Yeah.
And like weeks later, then stepping up to get a Juno Awards for it. And
Yeah.
that was my first Juno at that point.
Yeah. So what is it like to have such success that early on? Like, not that it came easy. There were a lot of things leading up to that moment that created those opportunities that, you know, sometimes you weren't even expecting to take the opportunity. Like, okay, well, I guess I'll put out another song.
Yeah.
And then it's a Juno award-winning song. So how does that sort of shift your perspective on record making? Like, did you realize that, like, man, I can do this? Or was there, like, what was that transition from that Juno to continuing to make music?
I think it was just, I think the best part about it was when that video came out. Oh, here's another backstory. So when we shot the video, Little X was already, or X, I'll just call him X. I don't know if he likes to be called Little X. But X was out he was out working with Hype Williams around that time. Like he was doing like the mentorship or something like that with Hype Williams. And he was coming back. Now, this is the story that I was told back then. And so when he came back, remember, Canadian hip hop was always like, it's good for Canadian. You know, like it was always had a B-rated thing to it.
Yeah.
And so X came back and he was trying to do videos, but it's like, Canadian director, you know, blah, blah, blah. So if I'm not mistaken, What It Takes was his very first like directing, like he did the second half of the video. So when we're sitting on like Center Island or whatever, he did that part when we're walking through the streets to Parkdale at the beginning. That was Rage. It was Rage Films that did that one. So he did the second half. And so at that point, so the video's going and people are like, oh, the video's good. Like it looks good. The song is good.
Right.
And everything. And then I start getting calls and I start getting recognition and stuff. And it just, I don't know what it is. You're still kind of wondering what's going on because at that point too, people were putting out records, but the longevity or the sustainability wasn't always there. You'd just be like, yeah, that's a dope record. It's a dope record. But what's he going to do after that?
Right.
You know? And I don't know when I fully caught it. It was just, I just started getting attention and a little bit of attention.
Yeah.
And then we started acting like a record company because then we started helping put out other records. Like Cardinal was with Capitol Hill at the time. So Capitol Hill and Knee Deep helped put out Hustlin'. Sox had a record called California. So we helped put that one out. We had the song, this album called, why am I forgetting it? Internal Affairs, which was on this album called Mad Fiber. So now we're getting recognition for putting out other people's music.
Right.
And so now they're noticing Knee Deep. They're noticing me as well, but they're also noticing Knee Deep as a company putting out other people.
Yeah.
And continuing to, because I'd be put out a remix here. I was on the Mad Fiber record. So I'm on other records as well, but we're putting out other people or helping to put out other people and putting out other people. And I think it was, that's kind of like where it went to. And then it led up to getting a phone call from the Rascals. I remember I was touring over there and I saw the Rascals at this place. And they're like, "Oh man, we're a big fan of yours." And I was like, "Fan of mine?
Yeah.
Fan of you? I didn't even know you knew me."
Yeah.
And everything. And then as all these things were going on, then that's when I get the call and asked if I wanted to be a part of the song Northern Touch.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Pull up What It Takes. Let's just have a little sample of that. I would love to hear that. And so when you talk about with Knee Deep Records, go ahead and play it, Ethan. When you talk about,
Yeah. And it's the first time she's on my track and the first day I first met her in person.
Really? So you were just connected by a mutual friend.
Yeah, we've seen each other, but
Okay.
this is the first time we're in studio, even considering doing something together.
Crazy. So how are these records, when you talk about Knee Deep Records putting out records without distribution yet, until you talked about the distribution piece, what are we talking about so that people understand what the industry was like at that time? You're pressing records, DJs are playing them, you're getting them physically into hands of who?
We would get them into the hands of, one of the parts was getting it into the hands of like the record pools.
Right.
So we go like Flavor Pool or Soul Choice or whatever. But yeah, we had to print all that up.
Yeah.
And it wasn't cheap.
Yeah.
and we had no money.
Right.
So
Did you have investors or were you just putting in your own money?
This is just
Yeah.
our own money. Like I was working. That's why I was working at a daycare.
Yes.
So my money from the daycare was going into the studio and everything.
Let's go.
And so yeah, we would go and make press up and mail them out. And mail outs is not cheap either. Pressing them is not cheap.
Yeah.
We used to drive down to New Brunswick, New Jersey to pick up the pressings and drive to Brooklyn, New York
Crazy.
to go and get the sleeves and go at my friend's house and put the jackets in the sleeve and rub the sticker on the jacket.
Yes.
Do that all night.
Yes.
And then go to the Purelator and ship them out. And the thing is, it wasn't going to one place. It was going to DJs in overseas in the South, in the West, and then across Canada and everything like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, and
Mail outs, just the mail outs were expensive too,
mail
right?
outs were expensive.
Yeah.
Everything about it, the communication. Back then, even if you had a cell phone back there, it was no, Canada wide.
Right.
One
Free
rate,
talk and text, yeah.
50 cents a minute and
Right.
stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
it was
you were running out of minutes all over the place.
all the time. And but that was the effort that you had to put into it. So, and then now I was doing it with other people's songs off of that was connected with my label at the time.
Right.
So, we were like, okay, well, we don't want them to say to us, "Oh, this we got records and they didn't do anything with it" or something
Right.
like that. So
You're pushing them hard,
We're
too.
pushing them hard, and then that helped for other artists to go and do their things. But that's what we did. We would drive with 11 people in a green caravan all over the place.
I love that.
And travel everywhere and go and get the records, go to all these different meetings and places, meet with people. Like we did a lot of groundwork.
Yes.
A lot of groundwork between 96 and 96 and 98.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were like on even up beyond that, but
Yeah.
that was the the heavy lifting at that point.
Right. Yeah. It's a different hustle. You can't sit on your couch and message people on Instagram
Yeah, nope.
to have check this link out or whatever, or distribution through DistroKid with the click of a button and boom, you're worldwide.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you got to press stuff, you got to invest the money to press 20 records to get them out to DJs and mail those out.
And you got to make sure that, and you had to make sure that they were listening to them.
Right. And
then-
going to the right place and all. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you also, and then you had to be on the indie or the hip hop pools. It's not like top 100 or
Right.
this, that. It was like you wanted to get charted on these pools that went around to all the DJs that were playing records on college radio and if they were on commercial radio. So the whole thing, and you had to do call-in conference calls to go and talk to the DJs and be like, this is the record, and
Yeah.
make sure they had it. And then all these listening sessions, there's not Zoom, there's not, like you said, there's no email. It was just a lot of legwork, but it was like, I look back on it and I'm like, it was hard work, but it was good because of the connections I still have till today. Because if I didn't go down to Virginia and go and meet up with MC Search while he was doing his radio show, and he's like, "Oh, that's good," and bump into Buckshot from Black Moon and
Yeah.
these guys and stuff like that, and they're hearing my records because we had to push hard for them to be playing it on radio.
Right.
You know, it was, you had to be on radio at that point.
Right.
If you weren't on radio, no one would hear it.
Right.
You know, so it was a lot of hard work to do that. And but those are the steps that we took. But when I look back, it's like, it's a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun, and it helped put that work ethic in me to continue to do it. Even though now it's simpler to get your record out,
right,
and for people to hear it, but the legwork that you still have to, like, going on the road for like so long and figuring out certain things here and there, and not getting tired, always making sure that, you know, this one person that meets you might only meet you for the one time, and you're having a bad day, and you got to make sure that they don't meet their hero for the first time and completely, you know, they say, don't ever meet your hero because they might disappoint you.
Right.
So, you know, you have to be like, yo, hey, what's up, man? What's up? Even if you're bad, I get it. Everybody gets a bad day, but, you know, this guy, one time he was with me and we were at the bar in some city, and it's like, hey, man, and I'm about to leave to go, just leave the venue and go wherever we were going next. He's like, hey, man, can I just have like a shot with you? I just want to have a shot with you. And I was like, oh, man, I got to go. And I remember him, he said, Shocks, man, I don't know if I'll ever be in this proximity with you or this close with you or anything to talk with you.
That's so cool.
Let me just go have a shot with you. And I was like, okay, yeah. And, you know, and that's the truth, because that's the true story. And that's the legwork and the stuff that we did and helped to build up, you know, the vibes that we have now, where people would be like, hey, I met Shocks, he's cool and everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'm just naturally cool, but I got to make sure that I you know, that, you know, people, when they meet me, they're going to be like, yeah, you know, he was cool. He wasn't like an ass or something like that.
It's that much more important for you to be kind at all times. You can't, it's less forgiving almost because you're in the limelight to have those bad days like we all do.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, because that's one bad day for you, but for this guy, that's a story he tells for the rest of his life.
To everybody.
That's like his celebrity moment. And I love that he put himself out too and just said what he needed to say to close that deal, because it takes balls to do that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
could have just been like, nah, man, I got to go.
Yeah.
But no, I was like, okay. And then he was like,
Good
yo,
for
man,
him.
word up. And then stuff. And then actually down the years later, he reminded me who he was. And I was
love
like,
that.
and I remember that story.
Yeah.
So, you know, so I remember I was like, yeah, he was like, yeah, man.
I
Yo,
love
word
that.
up. So.
You know, I have a Maestro story like that I shared with him when he came and performed. It was at the convention center at the time. And he performed, you know, the height of Let Your Backbone Slide. And anyways, he was coming out of the parking garage, like at the side of the stage. It was the end of the show. And there's already a bouncer there kind of holding the door but I can see that he's coming down the stairs and about to go to the bus. And I'm like, you know, 10 or 11 years old, sneak under this bouncer's arm and go get my cassette tape signed. Like, Maestro, please, my friend Janelle's here from LA. We love your stuff. I'm like, please sign it. And so he's like, how'd you get in here? He's like, how'd you get back here? And so, but he took the time and signed it, you know?
Yeah.
A couple years later, I mentioned that at a signing, he was at HMV or something. And he remembered me sneaking into the guy's like, I remember you little sneaky bastard. But that's, you know, to him, a little kind of moment and blip in time that he took a second before he jumped on the bus to do that. And a story that I'm sharing with you proudly
years
right
later,
now,
yeah,
years later at 44 years old, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So props to you for like giving people those moments that they'll cherish those for the rest of their lives. Now we have to jump in. So coming off of that, you touched on it already, pun intended, 1998. Northern Touch. Pull this up, Ian Rocket. Ethan, can you play this for us? And this is, you know, this is the scenario of Canada. Better than scenario for me. Like when this song hits, the hitters that are on this record, and you have to share. I know, tune into the second time that he appears on Behind the Sound because he gets into the full story. But I do want him to talk about this because I love the dope behind the scenes of how they decided the arrangement and what the order was of the MCs on this track. Tell that for us while this plays out.
We get the call from the Rascals to go and do the song, and Checkmate and them, they're already on the song, and so there's talking about me and Thrust coming in to go and do the song, and so I went with Cardi and we met up over there, and me and Thrust, everybody wanted to be the last person on the track. So me and Thrust,
the anchor,
yeah, we wanted to be the anchor, and all the other parts were on there. So me and Thrust are in the place, and we do paper, rock, scissors to see who would be the last person to anchor on the track, and I lost. So that's why I ended up going second.
Let's go.
Yeah, so like that's a funny story. And then Cardi was there, and he was sick.
Yeah.
And then he heard me mumbling a couple of lines here and there, and then he's like, "What are you saying? What are you saying over there?" And I was like, "Yeah, Tori, yes." And then he started mumbling it up, and then we're like, "Yo, but Cardi has that energy." So we were like, yeah." So he went in the booth and did it, and then the song became what it became. It was a great song, and it came out and did what it did, and it helped even launch my career. It was like that was like the kickoff for me. Like I was doing already stuff before, and this one really pushed me over the top.
Right. And the video for this is just so dope too. The energy and the vibe. It really was nothing that I had seen like it before, of like artists coming together and then going back again to like, these are your crew, this is your friends, people that you make music with and you grew up with, and just coming together and creating this vibe and this energy on this song. Truly iconic.
People need to know Choclair, the moving no
Hey.
into women like a Gano, Carlo. Dollars in fists now. How you gonna feel when you see the 6 triple low wheels start to peel? Swap dog appeal. Y'all know the deal. If you don't, ask my man Wild Dog. He'll tell you the circle, ride the spot. Represents like my Northwest connects rascals that make the cash flows indeed. Yo, I down the gold Schlager, Big C puffed up. Choclair with the mouth colorful like the currency.
So he's sick recording this as well,
Yeah.
or just in the writing session? Recording.
Yeah, we wrote and recorded it the same day.
Crazy.
Yeah, we did all our parts the same day, and we did that. And one of the funny lines in that song is when I say, "How you gonna feel when you see the 6 triple O wheels start to peel?"
Yeah.
So some people come up to me and they'll be like, I think they were talking about a Mercedes or something like that, and they're like, "No, it's a 600. It's not a 6 triple zero."
Right.
I was like, "No, I wasn't talking about a Mercedes 600 or whatever car it was." I was like, "No, I was talking about my mom's Pontiac 6000."
Let's go.
So that's what I'm talking about. Because that was the car. My mom would let me drive the car because she never drove it, and I was of age, and I was doing something, right? I was going to work, and I was going until I got my own car, which was like $500 with no floor.
Right. Yeah.
And standard 82 links. I think I even say it in the song, me and my 82 links. So when I was talking about, see my 6 triple O wheels start to peel, I'm
It's
talking
not a
about
Benz, yeah.
not a
It's a
Benz.
Pontiac
It's
6000.
a Pontiac 6000 with good speakers, though. It had good speakers.
Yeah, I love that. You know what? Pontiacs do represent for the system that they have. I do remember a friend having a Pontiac 6000.
Yeah.
That's dope, man. I love that. I love that you keep it real too, and you just like, I think that's why it resonates with people, is because you talk about what you know. You're not trying to sound or be like anybody else.
Yeah.
I even think in what we do in a second episode that we rock together in that song, you say something about we don't have a lot of money, or like, I don't know what the
light it
lyric
up.
is.
Don't got a lot of money, but so rich as I can't buy, but get with this vibe, we can flow real high.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in a time where everything is like flashy and flaunting, and especially more so now than ever, you know, you're talking about the life that you're living. Most musicians and artists can relate with that. It is a very starving industry where unless you're at a certain level and able to play consistently, you don't, it's not a money-making thing early on, you know? And
Yeah.
you talk about that.
Yeah, like, for me, it was because the way that I even look at the way things go a lot of times is that I always tell people, I say, understand that there's a trend going on, but don't follow the trend, because then you're a follower.
Right.
You know, and
you
then
have
that way
to be creating
you
it.
got to be creating it, or understand there's a trend there.
Right.
Like, so if the stock market's going up, you're not going to sell. You're gonna buy till it gets to a point and the trends come. You know what I mean? Like, it just kind of, you're doing all these different type of movements, and so I've always tried to just be like who I am, because if you try to be somebody else, then it's gonna come out.
People see through that.
They'll see through it, right?
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, yeah, this is who I am.
Yeah.
And then at that point in time, the people that were like my age coming up, they all understood it. Like, there was people who would fake this and fake that.
Right.
But the core people that would hear it, they'd be like, yeah. Although they didn't know what the 6,000, the 6 triple O was.
Yeah.
But I would say lines like, we don't have a lot of money, so rich as I can't buy. Or I'll be like, what I would say it in, I think it's the same song where I'm like, I see something along raise the DBs. Our music's pumping loud. Our parents can't catch the beat.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so like stuff like that, because that's, they'd be like, turn it down.
Yeah.
And stuff like that, and all that. And that's, I just try to put myself out there, and like, I like to have good times with party songs and this, but I never like, I just $55 million chain or something like that, or people
Right.
would be like, okay, yeah, well,
Great.
yeah, great.
Right.
So I just try to be real in my raps and have fun in them as well, but also
Yeah.
give like a song like 21 Years, also give like the fact of like, yeah, here's part of my story, and stuff like that. And I try to give my story through a variety of different type of songs that I make. And I think that's what really helps with me and me and my longevity is that people know that I'm not just doing something of something. I'm like, there's something to it,
Yeah, I think it's not only the authenticity, but it also is relatable and universal.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you talk about things that connects with me and connects with your audience, and because you're being true to yourself, but it also resonates because it's universal.
Yeah.
Not everybody understands a $50,000 gold chain,
Yeah, exactly.
diamond chain.
Yeah. And I think sometimes too, it's like it's good to have aspirations, but I remember people used to say if I think you have a new car, new shoes, but no house yet type stuff,
Yeah,
And it's
right.
Like,
Right.
It's like, no, man, let's
Come on.
prioritize here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. So how does it, let's talk to you about getting signed as we wrap up the interview here. What is that process? Because you get signed. This is after Northern Touch, is that right? Or were you signed already?
Right after Northern Touch, we did the Northern Touch tour. So around June '98.
Okay.
That's when I got signed with Virgin.
Okay. So how does a record deal in that time happen? What is the connection that needed to be made there, and kind of what sort of credentials? Because now we were talking about off camera, like record labels don't necessarily need to sign until they see you've got X amount of followers and likes and this, that, and the third. Whereas there wasn't that metric at the time. There were plays and record pools and stuff like that. So what sort of metrics were being evaluated that brought you to that level to get a record deal? And what was that process like for you? Did anything surprise you? Was it a story of, because that record deal didn't last, I would like to know what happened with that transition as well, because you still managed to get awards after that as an independent artist, regardless, because of your fan base. And we talk about having those diehard fans that Choclair has. So walk us through a little bit of what that process was like with a record deal. Was it everything that you had imagined? Was there things that surprised you or disappointed you about that scenario?
Well, the process was, it definitely was very new. It was kind of like you were courted, like there was people that had interests, like, oh yeah, Choclair, he's good and stuff. And then there was this guy, Russell Hergert, who was like, yeah, like I believe in you.
Yeah.
I believe in what you're doing. So then he goes to whoever his boss was. He was like the A&R of Virgin at the time. Then he goes to his person, and then he has to convince that person. And then that person has to be convinced by Russ. Then that person has to go to the president. And then so there's a whole thing that has to happen.
Goes up the chain, yeah.
Goes up the chain, and it only started because they believed in you. And the thing is that there was also, and for you to even sort of get to some of them, this could be a good or a bad thing, but there was always filters. Like there's tastemakers, they used to call them, and stuff. And so going through that process, because if somebody was just like, nah, I'm not messing with them, that could break the whole chain of how things going to go up. But like, fortunately, people liked what I was doing. They saw what I was doing, and liked where I was progressing. And that kind of got me to the point where Russ was like, okay, let's go. And then he was like, then he was going all in it. I think he was probably working on it for over a year. And then around June of '98, and that's when he was like, okay, yeah, this is the deal. They took me out for dinner. I remember too, because at that point, Northern Touch was out.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if Flagrant was out at that point too. But I
don't
remember,
think so.
Yeah, no, I don't think it was out at that point. But Northern Touch was out, and then my history of doing 21 Years, What It Takes, Just a Second, there's other songs with other artists that I was releasing, helping them release and stuff like that. So the words were kind of out there. So once we get all the talks done and negotiations and everything like that done, so the night before we went to, I don't know, some restaurant. It was a nice one. The first night, the first time when it was a cool thing, like the president, the sales team, this person, that person, all the reps are there. So the first day I ever tried Cristal, I still have the bottle at home.
Dope.
Yeah, I was like, can I take this? And this is before you could do pop the cork it and leave with the half bottle of wine or whatever.
Right.
So the guy wrapped it up in tin foil and let me walk out with the bottle, the person that was working at the door there at the place. So then it's still in my mom's house, the same bottle. And And then the next day, there was, I think it was the UMAC, Urban Music Awards of Canada or something like that.
Okay.
At Danforth Hall in Toronto. And so at this time, we just did the deal the night before.
Yeah.
But nobody knows. So then I think I was winning an award for something. I can't remember. But so Russ Herger comes out. They give me this Virgin hockey jersey.
Yeah.
Right. But everybody's kind of wearing jerseys at that time.
Yeah.
And it just said Virgin. Like it didn't say Def Jam or anything. It just said Virgin. So like, you're looking at it like, Virgin.
Yeah. Right. What's going on here? Yeah.
I think it said music at the bottom, but Virgin was the big thing on the front, right? And so then he goes and he makes this statement. He was like, we want to just go and say, because of our support for hip hop in Canada, and we believe in the music and hip hop in Canada, and we want to just to announce, I'll never forget this. We want to just announce that we've signed our very first Canadian hip hop act. His name is Choclair. Everybody's like, what? Everybody stood up and a standing ovation, like, it's about damn time. It was great. Great.
That's
and then
crazy,
things just started
man.
going crazy after that. And then the song I did with Guru came out, then Flagrant came out, and then other songs. I was doing songs with Rozelle. I did a song on Beanie Man's album. I think it's called Original Tunes was that song. So I started getting a lot of work in, and then leads up into the album. You're doing all this press. You're going to press, what do you call it, press school. So you can learn how to
Do pressers and
stuff like that.
Yeah.
So media classes, that's
Yes.
what it's called.
Yeah, media training, yeah.
Media training. So you're doing all of that. You're in the office all day on the phones,
Right.
doing hundreds of interviews and everything like that. And then the record comes out, and I will never forget, before that record came out, because there was such a buzz behind it.
Yeah.
You know,
Flagrant, were you talking about?
the Ice Cold album.
Okay.
So before, it wasn't Flagrant, the album, Flagrant, the song that was on Ice Cold album. That's the
Okay,
one I think
gotcha.
that came out just before. But so there was so much hype about this record.
Yeah.
And, you're all excited. Me and all the boys were all working on this album. And, but then that's where the media kind of twists. It's like, they build you up to bring you down. So then the media starts saying, they started saying this in interviews and also just in like articles and like, well, if Choclair record doesn't go, it's going to it's going to show that Canadian hip hop doesn't sell. So at that point, the music, I was having fun.
Yeah.
But at that point, it wasn't fun anymore.
Became business.
Yeah. And it was like, we had fun making the record. We had fun doing the videos. We had fun doing this. But the big date is a week away.
Right.
And I'm on a promotional tour.
Yeah.
And right after I do that promotional tour, I'm on a tour with Rozelle across Canada. So like if they get bad reviews, then all of a sudden, people ain't going to want to see me with Rozelle or something. They're going to be like, the record sucked or something like that. And so it wasn't fun anymore. And I remember it was summer. I think we were in Vancouver. And so it's like the Tuesday. It was the Tuesday, like all the records used to drop on Tuesdays. And then you do your Nielsen sound scans, and the next Tuesday you get your numbers. And so Russ gets the call from somewhere, and he gets off the phone. And he just looks at me and he's like, "Shucks." And I was like, "Oh man, what?" And he's like, "Yeah, you got like a top 10 record right now."
Let's go.
At that point, bottles are flying everywhere. Shaking them out.
shit.
Probably the hotel cleaning room was probably like $1,000 or something. I was like, "Are you serious?" He's like, yeah. He's like, "Yeah, you got." I think it was like number 2 in the Canadian hit, something like it was in the top 10, and I was like somewhere just behind Madonna or something. They were bringing up all this stuff.
And so what song are we talking about?
That was the album Ice Cold, the whole album.
The whole album.
The whole album.
That's crazy. What was the lead single off of that though?
That was Let's Ride.
That's Let's Ride.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
okay.
that's why the hype was so big, because the song was doing really well, but they're like, man, if it doesn't, and they're like, I'm gonna be the one that crushes all of Canadian. There's a lot
Right.
of great artists out there.
Right.
But that's what the thing was. And then when it came out and it did what it did, we were like, oh, good. And then the tours start going and people are hype and everything. And then I did my first Much Music, not my own solo one, because we did Northern Touch Extended Mix with Master T. And then
Right.
here comes Choclair Ice Cold's
Yeah.
Much Music appearance and doing it live with Master T's interviewing me.
Yeah.
So I walk in there and I'm like, well, why is there all these ice sculptures that say Ice Cold all over the place? And I'm like, well, and why is the IT guy there?
Right.
And why is the salesman? Why is the business department here?
Right.
Why is the president here?
Right.
Not even registering. And then at the end, I do my show, I do my thing. And then they come out and be like, yo, at that time, you were the fastest artist to go gold in 35 days
Let's
at that time.
fucking go.
And I was like, oh, no way. And then they took me out to dinner again. I said, this time don't make it count on my budget because it was like an $8,000 dinner.
They took that out of your budget?
No, they didn't. They were like, don't worry about it. Don't worry. We're just going to celebrate. And so we did that. And then I started touring and going everywhere. And then once it really started to kick in was when people started liking the music and I started going on tours and doing all these things.
Yeah.
And then I was in LA one time and I was at some party in Beverly Hills and I was like, I can't believe I'm in Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
And then I'm standing in the club and I just see two people coming from the corner and it's Red and Meth.
Yeah.
And then they're walking this way and where I was standing directly, they would have to pass me.
Right.
And so what did he say? So I'm walking in, so I'm just like, all right, man, keep it cool. 'Cause I'm a fan.
Be cool.
Yeah.
Be cool, yeah.
So I'm about to go and introduce myself, like, hey, what's up, Red? Big fan, name is Choclair. I stick up my hand, he goes, motherfucking Choclair.
Let's
I was like,
go.
what? And then Method Man's right behind, he's like, yo. He goes, how do I, he goes, you know how I know it was you? And I go, how? He goes, because when we're in Canada, the only other person we hear about is Choclair.
Yeah, man.
And then we hung out and that was all cool. And then we got to know each other and we're still cool to this day. Like,
Yeah.
it was really cool. And you asked about how the transition out of it was. So that became that one part. And then right after when the whole music industry was kind of shifting into digital,
Right.
because of what I learned doing it independent in the beginning, I was able to go and take what I learned from being an independent artist, from what I learned working with a major label, to go back to being an independent artist. And that's when the Flagrant album came out. And
Yeah.
then that album became my 4th Juno album.
Crazy.
So,
Yeah.
and then since then we just kept going and just kept going. And
Yeah.
and it's been, like doing songs with ODB and in the studio with them and with him, Corrupt and touring with Snoop and De La Soul, like just everything. And then just continuing to keep doing it up to today, to this day, still doing it.
What a ride, man.
Yeah.
What an incredible ride. I appreciate you sharing that story. And I can't even tell you how honored I am to have rocked a verse on that live in the booth with you of such an iconic song. Like, what a ride with such a super talented artist that you are. And it's incredible that you can have that journey and through the whole record deal and that whirlwind of all of that success, and then still drop a record independent and win awards. That's gotta be, that's some next level talent that surpasses a lot of artists and musicians, Canadian or American.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you. And thank you to all the fans out there that's been supporting me for over 20 years. And all the great artists I got to meet and collaborated with in music and everything, and it's still going on. There's lots of stuff that over the years that songs would come out here and there, but we're working on putting out this new project that's coming out this year, and it's going to be another wild ride coming out this year, and it's just great. 20 plus years later, still doing it, still on the road, still all over the place, and still got the support from the fans out there, and I definitely love the people that support me. So I appreciate that from everybody there from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for making me here for 20 plus years, like 20 plus years. Yeah.
Good years. Chisnock, on the way out here, tell us, give these young artists, old artists alike, what is the one piece of advice you think you would give them for success in their career that you can attribute to the longevity and the success that you've had? And not only that, like the humility and kindness. How do you get that success and remain so humble and kind?
Well, for me personally, is that I'm a fan of the music, so I appreciate what people bring to the table. And how they perform and the talent that they have. Like, I can't do certain things. And even outside of music, it's like, I can't build a house. Someone would be like, I can't rap. And I'm like, well, I can't build a house. I mean, you can. So you appreciate people's talents and abilities to do whatever it is. And then, so that kind of keeps you humble because, if my water heater starts leaking, if I start tinkering with it, the whole place blows up, right?
You can't wrap it to
you
can't wrap it to
wrap
work
it
again.
back together, yeah. So it's just that's type of thing. Appreciate people for who they are. Always be nice to people. Treat people how you want to be treated, and then also carve your lane. Like I was saying earlier, don't understand the trend, but don't try and be something else. Because remember they're in the late or mid 2000s, 10 whatever, and auto-tune was everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
And Now, I don't even think T-Pain is still doing it, but if he was still doing it, it would make sense.
Yeah.
But like all these other groups that were there, they were there, it would probably hit for a minute, and then now they're not there anymore.
Yeah, which
right?
is crazy because he can actually sing.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got a great voice.
Yeah, exactly. But that was his thing. And then
Yeah.
once he started popping with I'm in Love with a Stripper and all these
Yeah.
other songs, and people, I like to do that. So they all started doing it.
Right.
And unfortunately for a lot of them that were doing it and based their whole things around it, not a lot of them are still around.
Yeah.
So always just stay true to yourself, have humility, treat people how you want to be treated, and use your own creative stuff that you want to do, just musically. Look at CeeLo Green.
Yeah.
He said he didn't want to be typecast in a box.
Right.
So he became Gnarls Barkley and started doing all that other stuff. But he
Right.
could still go back and do his Goody Mob stuff.
100%.
But he can also do this. Look, Andre 3000, he did an album with a flute.
Yeah, I
You
can't
know?
get with the flute album, but I get you. I feel you though. Yeah.
From Players Ball from Outkast back in the days to him doing his thing.
100%.
But it doesn't make, whether you like it or not, it doesn't make, it's not like, wow, why did he do that? It's like, I guess I could see him doing something like that.
Sure,
From when
yeah.
he started wearing the pants with the fur and no shirts and stuff like that.
He was always a unique cat.
Yeah,
right?
but that was his thing. And,
Yeah.
and so I'm saying to other people out there and doing their music, just, you're cool the way you are. So, if anything, cool you are, so just be you
Yeah.
and just absorb the world and everything. And that's pretty much what I can just say is just be who you are. Do your music, and people will appreciate who you are. So even if you don't have a great record, they'll still stick with you and stick with you to the next record.
Yeah.
Because they're already fans of yours. And I think that's the key. The key is just those things. Just be yourself and do the music that you love to do, and whatever it is, experiment with music and see if you like it or not. And some people will like it, some people may not. Some people might be like, oh, this is genius.
Yeah.
So that could happen. So that would be the thing I would say.
Dope, man. That's good advice. Obviously, you're doing something right to have the longevity and just be this icon in Canadian music and hip hop the way that you have, from Juno Awards to gold records to the fastest reaching gold record ever for a Canadian artist.
At that time.
Yeah. At that time.
Yeah.
So, humility and kindness are truly what I've experienced firsthand from you. And all of these, incredible stories that I can't wait to hear more about off camera, and more stories to come, by the way, in another episode. So if you dig this episode, if you like what we do at Behind the Sound, make sure you like, follow, subscribe, all of those things. It really does make a big difference in the show. And we have lots more of Choclair to come and another performance in an upcoming episode. So make sure that you don't miss that. And listen, man, I'm a screaming super fan inside right now. I can't believe you're here, and so grateful that you would make the time to come on the show and perform live in the booth. And I'm excited for what is still to come for the Shiznak.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, and just for the last thing, don't forget to try your sexual your Chiznaklet hot chocolate.
How could I forget?
The Chiznaklet hot chocolate. That's hot chocolate. Because everybody in the morning, they'll
Give
be
them
like,
the ingredients. Break it down for them.
okay, so it's going to sound simple, but it's the name that makes it sprinkle. You put hot chocolate, whipped cream, chocolate syrup, chocolate sprinkles, and a cherry on top.
The cherry on top is key.
Yeah, and that's the Chiznaklet hot chocolate.
The Chiznaklet hot
The
chocolate.
sexual Chiznaklet hot chocolate is the exact same thing, but you add Bailey's or Kahlua
Let's go.
into it. So try that. And I really do ask for it. All my friends look at me and shake their head when I'm out there eating and I order it. They're like, come on, you really didn't just do that. I'm like, yeah, why not? If they had it and I didn't ask, I wouldn't have had it.
Listen, my man, when you come back for the grand opening performance at Epic at Station Park, I will be sure to have you the sexual Chiznaklet hot chocolate, hot and ready for you to drink side stage before you come on and perform.
Sounds great, man. Sounds great. I'm looking forward to seeing you all out there. Thank you guys so much again for all your support, and I will see you soon.
Yes,
Word up.
sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.